Hello everyone and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Stop, Luna. Baker's voice cut through the heavy nighttime air, sharp with panic. He was rushing as soon as the words left his mouth, his boots pounding into the alley's rough concrete. The police officers beside him exchanged surprised glances before running after him, their radios clattering at their sides and their breath bursting in hard blasts as the chase began. But Luna was already gone, her black form flickering like a shadow moving between shadows. The alley immediately swallowed her. She was visible in the flashing sweep of a patrol car's headlights one instant, then disappeared into the night, as if the darkness itself had reached out and grabbed her by the hand. Baker ran harder. He knew her pace, her intuition, her remarkable ability to vanish just as someone thought they had her cornered. He'd seen it before, the wild look in her eyes when she felt confined, the way her body stiffened like a spring about to be released. He understood the warning signs when she stiffened up tonight. Nonetheless, he had been somewhat too sluggish. Radio the next block. One officer yelled to another between gasps. She can't have traveled far. But Baker knew better. If Luna had one talent, it was to go far, further than anyone thought and faster than anyone could have anticipated. His lungs burned as he pushed himself along the alley. His flashlight beam jittered across garbage, grime, shattered bottles, and graffiti-scrawled walls. Nothing. Only the echo of footsteps, hers and theirs, resounded through the maze of tight passageways. "Luna," he shouted again, "you need to stop." His words echoed against the brick walls, scattering like shards of sound. No response. Not even a trace of her breath. Baker slowed for half a second to force himself to think. Luna did not flee without a reason. She obeyed, listened, and trusted. Always. She had never escaped from him or the cops until now. Something had changed. Something had scared her so profoundly that she bolted like a hunted animal. "Where will she go?" the older officer inquired, puffing alongside Baker. He was strong and sweating profusely, better suited to paperwork than nighttime adventures. Kid like her. She couldn't have planned this. Baker shook his head. Luna orchestrated everything. Perhaps not consciously, or in a way that others observed, but every instinct of hers was designed for survival. She'd spent too much time in the world's crevices to not know how to traverse them. "She's heading somewhere she thinks is safe," Baker added. "We're not chasing her down a random alley. She's heading somewhere she knows." The cop scowled. "Do you know where that might be?" Baker did, but he didn't want to say it out loud. Before he could respond, a clatter echoed from ahead. Metal strikes concrete. A trash can has toppled over. All of the men raised their lights at once. "There!" exclaimed another officer. The lights met at a set of footprints pressed delicately into a smear of fallen ash. Small, fast, fresh. Baker lunged forward. As he raced, memories flooded back to him. Luna sitting next to him on the station stairs, silent but curious, asking questions about things others took for granted. Even though she was visibly hungry, she ate half of the sandwich he had given her and saved the other half for later. Memories of her voice, gentle as a secret, stating she trusted him because he did not look at her like others did. He gazed at her as if she was important. And now she was fleeing from him. The alley branch ahead diverged in two directions. The other skidded to a standstill, but Baker did not pause. He veered left, taking the narrower lane. Luna preferred tight spaces. Long corridors made her uncomfortable, whereas narrow ones made her feel hidden. "Slow down, Baker," one officer exclaimed. "We have to coordinate." But Baker did not stop. The adrenaline rushing through him was not just from the chase. It was terror, a profound, gnawing concern that something horrible would happen if they did not get to Luna in time. A fresh sound rose in the distance. Sirens. Leftover units are responding to the earlier call. Their weak wails echoed across the city's underbelly, like warning cries. The passageway abruptly opened up into a larger, broken courtyard amid the collapsed shells of old buildings. Baker skidded to a halt, scrutinizing the dark nooks that the moonlight couldn't quite reach. "Luna!" he shouted again. "I know you are here. Simply chat to me." He received a quiet scrape as an answer. He flashed his spotlight toward the sound. For a few period, she stood beside a rusting stairs, her hair wild around her face and her chest rising and falling with each furious breath. Her eyes glowed with a combination of dread and resolve he had never seen before. However, she did not speak. She turned and ran again. "Luna, no." Baker sprinted after her. The other cops attempted to follow, but she was too quick, dashing through a crevice in the courtyard wall that was just wide enough to fit through. Baker charged after her, disregarding the sting of bricks scratching against his arms. The tiny route beyond the wall led down to an abandoned industry district. Old brickwork towers stood like lifeless sentinels, with hollow windows. Rusted metal beams protruded from the ground, like shattered ribs. If Luna was coming here, she was either desperate or knew something the others didn't. "Spread out," yelled the lead officer as he and two others caught up. "She can't hide indefinitely." Baker continued running, ignoring the command. He didn't want to corner Luna, with 3 officers shouting at her and pistols at their belts. He wanted to contact her before they did. He followed the faint echoes of her footsteps. She led him deeper than he had anticipated, navigating past the skeletal remains of loading docks, machinery, and heaps of discarded cargo. The air smelt of rust and rain-soaked dust. Every sound seemed amplified. The scratching of his shoes, the clatter of a loose pipe, the faint hum of a distant generator. Then he overheard it. "She's breathing. Shallow. Hitched. Extremely close." "Luna?" He spoke gently, no longer shouting. His voice had softened into something delicate. "You don't have to run from me. I'm not here to cause you any harm." But he sensed her presence in the darkness, like a quake in the air. "Please," Baker muttered. "Whatever happened, whatever scared you, you can tell me." There was another faint breath followed by a rustle. Baker increased his light carefully. She stood behind a fallen sheet of metal, her petite figure partially obscured, her eyes gleaming faintly in the light. This time, she did not run. She stood still, hands twitching, mouth parted as if she wanted to say something but couldn't get the words out. "Luna," he murmured. "I'm right here." She looked over his shoulder. Baker knew she was terrified of what was coming next, not of him. He turned sharply. 2 officers approached, their firearms drawn because they were terrified, fatigued, and unsure of the scenario. Their flashlights flitted across the room's dark corners like frenetic fireflies. "Do not move, youngster," one of them shouted. "Put your hands where we can see them." Luna recoiled, pressing herself against the metal, her eyes wide. "Put your firearms down." Baker snapped, moving between them and Luna. "She is terrified." "She bolted from us," one cop remarked sternly. "We don't know what she's capable of." "She's a child," Baker replied. "She's a suspect," the officer responded. "Orders are orders. We'll get her in, one way or another." Baker's jaw clenched. He could feel Luna's stare on his back and hear the trembling breath she attempted to conceal. She trusted him. It's only him. If the officers rushed her, she would flee. And this time she may not stop. "Everyone calm down," Baker urged, lifting his hands to prevent both sides from bolting. "We're doing it my way. Slowly. Safely." The cops paused. One lowered his rifle slightly. The other did not. "Luna," Baker whispered softly, turning slightly so she could see his face. "They won't hurt you. I will not let them. I promise." For the first time, her lips separated. Her voice trembled as she murmured, "Baker, I did nothing. I just got scared." He nodded and approached her slowly. "I understand. It's all fine," but the officers behind him shifted, their boots grinding against the metal-strewn floor. Luna flinched. "One step at a time," Baker cautioned them. "One wrong move, and she'll bolt again." He approached Luna, crouched slightly to make himself smaller and less threatening. Her breath was rapid and shallow, but She didn't move away when he softly extended his hand. "You're safe now," he said. Her fingertips hovered above his palm, nearly brushing. Then a sharp crack echoed throughout the structure. A faraway door crashed, the sound echoing around the abandoned structure like a gunshot. Luna jerked. She then ran again. "Luna!" Baker yelled, this time with pure desperation. He lunged after her as she slipped through a break in the machinery, her body twisting like a ghost into the small space. He crawled after her, ignoring the metal searing into his palms and the cops shouting behind him. He moved forward into a new corridor, an old conveyor-line tunnel. The ceiling was low and lined with dust-smeared pipes, and Luna's hurried footsteps echoed along the metal flooring in front of him. "Stop," Baker implored. "Luna, please. You're going to get hurt." But she did not stop. Not until she reached the end of the tunnel, where the floor abruptly plunged into a 3-meter-deep sunken pit filled with smashed machinery. Baker saw what was about to happen. "Luna, wait." But her momentum propelled her forward. She skidded, slipped, and the world appeared to freeze as her foot grabbed on a tangled cable and her body tipped forward into the nothingness. Baker did not think. He rushed himself toward her. His fingers stroked hers, slipped, and grasped tight just as she collapsed. Pain ripped through his shoulder, but he held on with all he had, his boots braced against the tunnel's metal frame. "Got you," he exclaimed, teeth clenched. "I've got you." Below them, jagged machinery awaited with gaping fangs. Luna clung to his arm and trembled frantically. "Baker, never let go," he said, pushing with all his effort. Her petite frame rose inch by inch. His muscles screamed, sweat stung his eyes, but he continued to pull until she was safe beside him on firm ground. She collapsed on him, shaking. He wrapped his arms softly around her. "It's over," he muttered. "You're safe. I've got you." For a long time, neither of them moved. When the officers reached the tunnel, Baker lifted his hand to silence them. "She's coming with us," he replied gently. "But we're doing it carefully. No guns." There was no shouting. No more dread. Luna gazed up at him, her eyes unfocused and her face pallid, but she nodded, small, tentative, and genuine. This time, she didn't run. The words came out of Baker's throat at the same time as the patrolman's, rough and overlapping, two male voices braided into a desperate chord that ricocheted off the factory walls. Luna did not slow. Her sneakers hit the cracked concrete, and her ponytail whipped like a lighted black fuse. She leaped a stack of splintered pallets without breaking stride, her movements so smooth they appeared choreographed, as if she had practiced this exact escape in fantasies long before tonight became a reality. Baker ran harder than he had in 15 years. The holster on his belt slapped against his hip, the weight of the gun inside becoming obscene. He wasn't after a suspect. He was for the girl who used to fall asleep on his couch during Sunday football and once asked him whether constellations were just God's connect the dots. The one whose mother died in his arms 3 years ago, while Luna, 12, watched from the corridor with a stuffed orca. Behind him, Officer Parrish yelled into his radio, his voice cracking. Suspect fleeing on foot, female, 17, dark hair, gray hoodie, possible armed. Do not engage without backup. The words felt borrowed from someone else's life. Parrish was 24 and still thought in protocols. Baker recalled Luna at 14 stealing his service revolver to shoot empty soda cans in the desert, laughing when the recoil knocked her flat on her ass. Luna at 16 hot-wiring his pickup because keys are for quitters. She hit the chain-link fence at the lot's edge and was up it before Baker got halfway. The metal shook like bone. At the top, she paused for a heartbeat and peered back. Floodlights chiseled silver into her cheekbones. Her gaze found Baker's across 50 yards of dust and terror. They were the same eyes that begged him to stay when her mother's heart failed, and the same eyes that looked at him with scorn when he signed the paperwork putting her in foster care because he was not equipped. She didn't say anything. She did not need to. The gaze told it all. "You can't save me twice." Then she was gone, slipping silently to the other side. Parrish appeared panting and red-faced. "We'll get dogs," No dogs, Baker said sharply. He was already going, hobbling slightly, the old shrapnel in his knee from Kandahar acting up as it often does when adrenaline floods the joint. He gripped the fence and hoisted himself up with a grunt that tasted of blood and remorse. Chain links dug into his palms. Halfway up, the environment shifted. For a brief moment, he considered falling and breaking his neck, which would be appropriate karma. But he overcame it, rolled over the barbed wire, feeling it rake his forearm, warm moist line opening, and landed hard on the other side. The alley beyond smelled like piss and fried grease from the pupusa stand on the corner. Luna was already a fading shadow under a flickering street lamp. Baker fled. He knew the streets better than she did, or at least he used to. He spent 10 years on patrol in this sector before becoming a detective, before the bottle, suspension, and unofficial banishment to desk job. He cut left through a courtyard where old men played dominoes beneath a string of never-ending Christmas lights, vaulted a kiddie pool full of stagnant water, and emerged on 14th Street, where buses ran. Luna was 20 yards ahead, maneuvering through late-night bodies including club youngsters, dealers, a woman pulling a suitcase, and a toddler. Baker's lungs were burning. He tasted copper. His radio squawked uselessly. Parrish and the others were still at the warehouse, securing the area and phoning it in. They'd located what Luna had led them to, 3 kilograms of what appeared to be black tar, but tested positive for weaponized fentanyl, enough to kill half the city. And her prints are all over the package. And a burner phone with a single outbound text message, an address, a time, and the words, "I apologize." She darted across the avenue, against the light. Horns screamed. A delivery truck's brakes locked, and its tires howled. Baker followed without seeing, trusting his 15 years of sense above sight. Something clipped his shoulder, maybe a mirror, and spun him half around, but he remained on his feet. He was gaining. She was fast, track star fast, but she was afraid, but he was motivated by something worse than fear. He could see the trembling in her step now, and her left palm kept fluttering to her stomach, as if she was keeping herself together. "Luna!" He roared again. His voice cracked this time, not from exertion, but from the beast tearing at his neck. "Please." She ventured another look back. That was her error. Her foot snagged on the edge of a storm drain cover that had been missing for 2 years. The city never repaired it. She fell hard, palms and knees against asphalt. The hit sounded like a gunshot. Baker ran the final 10 yards in 4 strides before dropping beside her, hands hovering, scared to touch.
She cried.
Not loud, just a continuous stream of tears cutting through the grime on her face. An abrasion on her cheekbone resulted in bleeding. Her hoodie had ridden up, and the flesh on her tummy was mottled yellow-green, with bruises weeks old. "Don't," she whimpered, as he grabbed for her. "Don't touch me. Luna." His voice broke utterly. "Honey, look at me."
She did.
The contempt was still present, but beneath it was something smaller, something resembling the 12-year-old who once asked him if dead people could see them cry. "I didn't have a choice," she explained. "It came out flat and rehearsed. They have Marisol." Baker's heart sank. Marisol, the little sister, 9 years old, was placed into care when their mother overdosed. Luna has been fighting the courts for 2 years to reclaim it. "Who has her?" "You know who." She laughed, making a sound like broken glass. "Do you recall putting half of them away?" They remember, too. He was aware. Los Hios de la Luna, the crew that began as a tagging circle but grew into something more dangerous as cartel money poured north. They'd been quiet for years. Baker believed they had died. Apparently, they had just been waiting. Headlights washed over them. Parrish's cruiser came to a halt, leaving crimson and blue marks on Luna's face like war paint. Doors opened. Boots on the pavement. "Put your hands where I can see them." Parrish returns, younger, by the book, gun already drawn. Baker shifted, placing his body between Luna and the muzzle. "Lower it, kid." "Detective, move away. She's been arrested." "She's a goddamn child. She had 3 keys." "I said lower it." Silence stretched thin and hazardous. Parrish's knuckles turned white on the hold. The barrel dropped slowly and uncertainly. Baker turned back to Luna. She looked at him with new eyes. Not gratitude. Never that. Just calculation. They told me if I moved the package, they'd let Marisol go, she whispered gently. One job. Then we may disappear. Do you believe that? He asked.
No, she confessed.
But I had to try. The sirens in the distance grow closer. Backup. This time, there is a real backup, not just one rookie with an attitude. Baker felt a clock ticking inside his chest. He then made a decision that would terminate careers and possibly even lives. He went into his pocket, pulled out his keys, and put them on her bloodied hand. Silverado is 2 blocks east, behind the talk area. Keys in the visor as always. His voice was barely audible above the idling cruiser. Go. Luna looked at the keys as if they were written in a language she had forgotten. You'll lose your badge. I lost everything worth keeping a long time ago. Parrish moved forward. Detective. Baker stood, turned, and confronted the younger man. Are you going to shoot me, son? Parrish's mouth opened and closed. The gun shook. Luna rose behind Baker. He didn't look back because he couldn't bear to. He heard her footsteps, tentative at first, then quicker, the sound of sneakers fading into the night. Parrish increased the radio. Baker stretched out and softly but forcefully pushed it down. Let her go, he instructed. You're done, Parrish said. You know that. Yeah, Baker replied, and for the first time in years, the words did not taste like ash. I know. They stood there as the sirens converged, red and blue lights flashing over the pavement like a heartbeat. Somewhere in the distance, an engine turned over, his engine, the tires squealing as they sought traction. Baker closed his eyes and listened as the only family he had left drove away into the darkness. And for once, he did not attempt to follow.